First tonight to the United States, where the presidential election campaign has entered its final hours before polls open on Tuesday. Both candidates have been concentrating on the 7 states with most influence in the electoral college system, which decides the outcome. Representing 2 starkly different visions of the future, Kamala Harris is pushing her message of unity and warning against giving Donald Trump, in her words, unchecked power and a future that would be divisive. For his part, Donald Trump has been asking a lot of people at his rallies whether they feel better off than they were 4 years ago. Correspondents say he's banking on the fact that the answer would hopefully be no. Right, I was hoping we were going to hear from Donald Trump and Kamala Harris there, but apparently not. To share his views about the US election, I'm joined now on the line from just outside Chicago. Right, okay, I'm told that we don't have Eric Berman on the line. That's a bit strange. In any case, we're talking about the US election. Donald Trump has said that if he is returned to office, he will end the Ukraine war on day 1. His Democrat opponent, Kamala Harris, says that Mr. Trump is planning to force Ukraine to surrender and to accept that Russia can take possession of the territory that it has seized from Ukraine. Some have suggested that this could even be an existential moment for Ukraine. A lot, of course, on the international scene going on. Kamala Harris saying that if she is elected, she could well be constrained by a Republican-controlled Congress, assuming the Republicans take control of Congress, and that means that it'll be putting all of the checks and balances on the billions of dollars of aid that go to America. I mean, that go to Ukraine, rather. Right, okay. I'm told that we have Eric Burman now. So to share his views about the US election, I'm joined now on the line from Chicago by Eric Berman. And Eric, of course, is a registered independent and is not affiliated with either the Democrats or the Republicans. Mr. Berman is also a visiting scholar at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, just north of Chicago. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. You've been canvassing, from what I understand, knocking on doors and speaking to people who possibly have never been spoken to directly, and getting a sense of how that either confirms or challenges what we think we know about voters and this election. Tell us more.
Yeah, Charles, it's nice to be with you again. Thank you for this opportunity. Slight correction, I've been mostly involved in nonpartisan voter registration in the state of Wisconsin the last 2 months. So what I can tell you from speaking to hundreds of voters or potential voters in the swing state of Wisconsin is that the misinformation and the distrust that's been sown in some quarters is nothing that I found. People have confidence in the system and have registered in hundreds of numbers, and I'm confident in the process for this upcoming election in that state.
Well, I mean, I'm curious to know, Eric, based on your canvassing and that direct contact that you've made with voters, I mean, whose voices do you think are sounding more confident, Mr. Trump's or Ms. Harris's? Or is either side not emphasizing their chances of winning for strategic reasons?
Well, in speaking to U.S. citizens, it's pretty evenly divided. When they do express, they need not express their intention of who they'll vote for when they register. that is something where you don't even, in the state of Wisconsin, you don't even list your party affiliation. So it's not even an option to list that. But when you talk to them about early voting or about where their precinct is, or to make sure that they're still on the voting rolls, you do engage in conversations with everybody who comes through the door at the Department for Motor Vehicles, where I've been volunteering. And I would say that one insight that I picked up is some people say that they're pro-Trump, but might not vote anyway, whereas people who have expressed an interest in um, Harris, they seem quite intent on voting. And the issues they raise are the economy. They'll talk about former President Trump's fitness for office, and many, many issues, as you can imagine, that people might have on their minds.
Well, of course, it could also be the people that you're talking to and the areas that you are sort of going out to do your canvassing. But I was going to ask you this, Eric, given this often direct contact that you have with some voters, do you think the opinion polls are something that should be taken with a pinch of salt?
Well, in the seven swing states, and I'm a consumer of news like you are, I have no particular insights. It's been pretty consistent for Wisconsin and the six other states that the polling suggests that the it's neck and neck, and it can go either way. Uh, and then with the +1% or -1% for either candidate, it's within the margin of error. So it's going to be a question of turnout. Um, I think that the polls reflect what I've seen. Uh, you do speak to everybody who comes in, and you don't know their affiliation. You just have a sticker that says, "Can I help you vote?" So uh, I'm guessing it's going to be very close. Wisconsin has been decided by about 20,000 votes the last two presidential elections, and I expect that it will be something similar this time around.
Well, indeed. And of course, you mentioned Wisconsin there. And of course, the other key swing states, the two candidates, from what we understand from the polls, are neck and neck, which is why we're seeing that they're actually ending up in the same places all the time. I mean, in Milwaukee, they were holding rival events just 6 miles apart, weren't they?
Right. The interesting thing, I think, and you're right to follow where the candidates and their surrogates are. Uh, Today, I see that Trump is in North Carolina. He'll be in more than one state, but North Carolina is where I vote. And in the last two elections, the Republicans have carried that state handedly. So the fact that he's there now suggests that his own internal polling might make it in his own interest to spend time there and not, let's say, in Pennsylvania or Michigan or Arizona or elsewhere. So, yes, I think it's interesting to see where the candidates are campaigning in these final, 48 hours and where they've been in the past week. And that gives you an idea of where their own campaigns are telling them they need to reach out and engage voters.
And I mean, Eric, we're hearing all kinds of bizarre stories of sort of ballot boxes being burnt and things like that. I mean, of course, no one knows how this election will end. I mean, or indeed whether Tuesday will be the end of it, with fears of lawsuits or worse.
Yes, I can tell you that some of the misinformation out there is really unhelpful. So when I register people, in Milwaukee, one of the first question actually is, "Are you a citizen?" Followed, right afterwards, "Are you on probation or on parole?" And folks who are not citizens, they say, I can't vote, or I'm on a green card. I can be here to work, but I'm not a citizen yet, and they don't proceed with the process. The same thing with somebody who they call it on paper. You're not able to vote yet. They know the felons, they know that very well, and they're not interested in jeopardizing their situation. So I find that there's no stuffing or registering improperly. And then when they do register, you've got the Board of Elections or the Electoral Commission of the state that checks everything. So there's a lot of filters. There's a lot of uh, checks and balances in the process. And I think it's unhelpful for folks to be sowing discord and misinformation about the process. And I believe that, I was just in Nigeria last week, as you know, and I don't watch CNN or Fox religiously, but when you're in a hotel or you're passing by, you see people watching it. And I could see that your audience, many people would think that folks are largely crazy or rabid partisans, one way or the other. But, when you meet people on the streets or in my case, at the Department for Motor Vehicles for the past couple of months, uh, people are basically rational, kind, appreciative, and I hope that everything goes smoothly and that the process will proceed without any problems. I think you're right that we won't know on Tuesday evening. I think it'll take some days, and then almost certainly there will be concerns, and the campaigns will be lawyered up. So it may take some time for this all to be sorted out at the presidential level. For the senators and representatives and other candidates down ballot, many of those will become clear, in Tuesday night, Wednesday morning.
So, yes, of course. I mean, and it is, as you mentioned there, the big day tomorrow, Election Day. Where are you going to be, Eric?
I'll be in Milwaukee. So I voted already in my home state of North Carolina, absentee, and I'll just be supporting people who are trying to find where their precinct is, where they need to cast their ballot. And if they're not registered, I'll be there to help inform them what they need to do for proper identification so that they can go to their precinct and vote on Election Day till the polls close.
Eric, thanks very much indeed, and we appreciate your taking the time to talk to us. Eric Berman is a registered independent and is not affiliated with either the Democrats or the Republicans. He's also a visiting scholar at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, which is just north of Chicago. And of course, he was talking to me on the line there from just outside Chicago.